So tonight what we're doing is we're building 3 bases. And I have the 2 bases already built. So very quickly I'm going to go ahead and mark on a waypoint one of the bases so I can get a rough idea where 200 meters is at. I've already done a bunch of videos about this, but I just thought I'd show you, some of the bases when they're complete. And I'll go ahead and place, let me deploy real quick actually. And grab a silo. Okay, so so we're within 200, so we'll go, let me move this. Of course, this is in the way. Alright, so let's see how close we are. Okay, so right there is as close as I can get. So right about there. Put it down a bit. Okay, so what I'll do now is build up a base. Get some ore. So very quickly before I do this, let me just show you these bases. They're very small. And basically the silos are 200 meters apart, and then the bases were built towards each other. So you have a real narrow pass here. And like I've shown you before, you can actually get those pillboxes within, 5 feet, 10 feet of each other. That's how close these silos are. And this will give us 3 bases within a really small area, as you can see. There they are. And that's just something you can do if you have alts and you've been unlocking buildings. Even if you don't have a lot of buildings unlocked, it's kind of nice to have these forward bases. And then you can build your main base in the back. And it gives you a little bit more options when you're trying to defend your base. Having those 2 forward outposts can be really beneficial. It's not exactly for everybody, I'm sure. Not everybody wants to build 3 bases, but if you like building bases and you have a few alts, especially if you've used Daybreak Cache to unlock a bunch of buildings, those buildings will be automatically unlocked on your alts, on your other characters you create. They'll start off with those buildings unlocked, so you can create a brand new character and just for base building purposes. And anyway, I'll finish this up and you'll be able to see how everything worked out. Just to give you an idea of how close they are, but in the fog you can barely see these bases. I mean, look at this. You can't even see the sky shields until you're right up on them. I like this part of HOSSIN where it's just so foggy you can barely see. You almost need lights to navigate. It's kind of a nice thing. HOSSIN was one of my least favorite contents when it first came out, but it started to grow on me, especially with every revision they've made. So with this base, I just fill it right through the wall. You don't have to actually go into the base to fill it. So I pretty much have all 3 bases built. It takes a little bit of effort. I mean, it's certainly not something you can do really quickly. But let's go ahead and spawn and show you what they look like from above. So there's the first one I built was right here. And then the second one is this one. And then the bigger base I usually build in the back, which is this one. Now, HOSSIN's a difficult continent to build on perfectly. It's hard to get symmetry, but you can get an idea of what's going on here. So anyway, there's some little strategies here and there in each base that I like to keep an eye on. The back base is kind of set up more for light assaults to jump around. Sort of like this, where I lowered the tower so it's about the same height as the terminal. I usually put those together because a light assault can jump across pretty easily. So they pull a light assault real fast. And we'll take a look. I usually put a pain spire somewhere between the 2 bunkers. I try to keep the entrances facing each other, but as close as I can. I just kind of like that. So let's do a light assault real fast. Take a look at it from the tower. So I like to keep these close. So that even if I wanted to, I could jump across with just about any class. Problem is, you know, how do you get up here? So what you usually do is, like I've shown you before, I'll grab the routing pad, the router, and I'll place that on top of the tower like this. So now what happens is that it can actually make an area for people to fight the high ground from. So I just put it right there. I try to keep it underneath the actual sky shield so that can't be shot too easy. But in this case, I didn't get it exactly where I need it to be. And so that's kind of what I try to do, is always have some sort of elevation in a base. It usually helps. And with these bases, if anyone attacks, the turrets that are in range or able to get line of sight will fire on the enemy. So if you travel down the middle right there and start shooting stuff, all three of these bases are going to open up. So here's an extra base added. So there's 4 bases in this complex. And to give you an idea of what that looks like on HOSSIN at night with the heavy fog situation. Directly ahead is the next base. So those are the 3 we built earlier. And then here is the new base being built by one of my alpha members. And that gives you an idea also, even how close they are, how dense the fog actually is. So it's pretty crazy. Anyway, that's it. See you in the next video.